Heath Ledger's death on January 22, 2008, sent shockwaves across the world. Just 28 years old, he was at the peak of his career, having delivered unforgettable performances in films like Brokeback Mountain and The Dark Knight. To many, his passing felt sudden, almost unfathomable. But behind the fame, the awards, and the larger-than-life characters he portrayed, Heath Ledger was battling demons of his own. His final days were marked by exhaustion, insomnia, and a cocktail of prescription drugs that would ultimately take his life. Tonight, we're going to peel back the curtain on those haunting last weeks. What really happened to Heath Ledger? Was he consumed by his role as the Joker? Was it the pressure of Hollywood, the scrutiny of the public, or something much deeper? This is the chilling story of Heath Ledger's final days. Before we can understand his tragic end, we need to look at the meteoric rise of Heath Ledger. Born in Perth, Australia in 1979, Heath was a restless and creative child. Acting came naturally to him, and by his late teens, he had landed roles in Australian television. But it was his move to Hollywood that changed everything. Ledger quickly became a heartthrob with films like 10 Things I Hate About You. But unlike many young actors, he resisted being typecast. He wanted to be known for his craft, not just his looks. That ambition led him to take on daring, unconventional roles. By 2005, Heath Ledger had become a household name for his raw and emotional portrayal of Ines Del Mar in Brokeback Mountain. The performance earned him an Academy Award nomination and the respect of critics who now saw him as one of the finest actors of his generation. But success also came with pressure. The more he achieved, the more he demanded of himself. And that perfectionism would eventually take a toll. When Christopher Nolan cast Heath Ledger as the Joker in The Dark Knight, it raised eyebrows. Many doubted he could pull it off. But Nolan saw something in Heath, something dark, chaotic, and fearless. Ledger threw himself into the role with total commitment. He locked himself away in a London hotel room for 6 weeks, keeping a diary where he scribbled disturbing thoughts, quotes, and images to get inside the Joker's psyche. He experimented with voices until he created that eerie, unhinged laugh that would haunt audiences. In interviews, Heath admitted the role was physically and mentally draining. He described nights of sleeplessness, his mind racing with thoughts he couldn't quiet. He was living in the Joker's world, and though he insisted it wasn't the role itself that destroyed him, the lines between performance and reality blurred. At the same time, Heath's personal life was unraveling. His relationship with actress Michelle Williams, the mother of his daughter Matilda, ended in 2007. Friends said the breakup devastated him. Despite his love for his daughter, Heath struggled with the emotional weight of separation. He was also battling chronic insomnia. Friends reported that he often couldn't sleep for days, pacing his apartment or calling people late into the night. To cope, he began relying on prescription medications, Ambien for sleep, painkillers for lingering back issues, and anti-anxiety drugs to calm his nerves. But mixing medications is dangerous, especially without careful supervision. Heath's friends noticed he seemed exhausted, drained, and sometimes detached. They worried he was burning out under the weight of his career and personal struggles. January 2008. Heath was back in New York, preparing for his next project, Terry Gilliam's The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. On set, he looked tired but determined. He pushed himself through grueling days, even while fighting illness. In one interview just weeks before his death, Heath admitted he was only sleeping 2 hours a night. He described his mind as racing and confessed that he couldn't shut it off. He was taking Ambien just to get rest, but sometimes even that didn't work. On January 22, 2008, Heath was found unconscious in his Manhattan apartment by his housekeeper and massage therapist. Emergency responders pronounced him dead at the scene. He was only 28 years old. The world was stunned. How could someone so young, so talented, and so beloved be gone? Rumors swirled immediately, some blaming his role as the Joker, others whispering about drugs, conspiracies, or secret depression. Weeks later, the medical examiner released the toxicology results. Heath Ledger had died of acute intoxication from a combination of prescription medications, oxycodone, hydrocodone, diazepam, temazepam, alprazolam, and doxylamine. In simpler terms, it was a lethal cocktail of painkillers, sleeping pills, and anti-anxiety medication. The coroner ruled it an accidental overdose. Heath hadn't intended to take his own life. He had simply mixed too many powerful drugs, a dangerous but tragically common mistake. In the wake of his death, tributes poured in from across the world. Co-stars, directors, and fans mourned not only the loss of a brilliant actor, but of a man who seemed destined for greatness. His posthumous performance as the Joker in The Dark Knight became a cultural phenomenon. Critics hailed it as one of the greatest performances in cinema history. At the 2009 Academy Awards, Heath Ledger won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. His family accepted it on his behalf, dedicating the award to his daughter, Matilda. The moment was both triumphant and heartbreaking, a celebration of his talent, but also a reminder of what the world had lost. One of the most persistent theories about Heath's death is that his role as the Joker consumed him. Fans, and even some journalists, claimed he couldn't escape the darkness of the character, and that the psychological toll contributed to his insomnia and drug use. But those closest to him, including director Christopher Nolan and his sister Kate, rejected that idea. They insisted Heath loved playing the Joker, and while it was demanding, he found joy in the challenge. Nolan described Heath as the most joyful set presence, someone who could slip into character but laugh and joke once the cameras stopped. Still, the myth persists that the Joker role cursed him, that he gave too much of himself to a character who symbolized chaos and destruction. More than 15 years later, Heath Ledger's death still resonates. He is remembered not only for his unforgettable performances, but also for the way he lived. As an artist unafraid to take risks, as a father who adored his daughter, as a man who pushed himself to the edge in pursuit of greatness. His death also sparked important conversations about prescription drug abuse in Hollywood. It exposed the dangers of mixing medications, even legally prescribed ones, and the pressures placed on actors to push through exhaustion and pain. Today, Heath Ledger's Joker remains a cinematic milestone, a performance studied, imitated, and celebrated. But behind the legend is the haunting truth, a young man struggling with insomnia, heartbreak, and the unforgiving pace of fame. Heath Ledger's final days are chilling not because of any conspiracy or curse, but because they reveal how fragile even the brightest stars can be. His death was a tragic accident, a convergence of exhaustion, medication, and personal turmoil. But his life, though cut short, left an indelible mark on cinema and on millions of fans around the world. Heath Ledger may be gone, but his legacy, his artistry, and his haunting Joker laugh continue to echo. And perhaps that's the most chilling part of all. Heath Ledger gave us characters who will never die, even as his own light was extinguished far too soon.